Hi folks, my name's Deepak Shukla and welcome to my Unacademy YouTube course, How to Get a Place at Oxford, Cambridge and other top European universities. If you're looking to prepare for examinations and take courses for any number of topics, head to unacademy.com, India's largest learning platform, and stay tuned for this course to make sure that you get into the top university. Brought to you by Deepak Shukla and Unacademy. Hi guys, welcome back to How to Get a Place at Oxford or Cambridge through the means of personal statement writing, and this is class number 8. So we are already in the process of what is the creation of version 3, what it's going to be now, of the personal statement. So as you can see now Google Chrome, or rather Google Sheets within Drive, does allow you to roll back and look at previous versions. I believe, see revision history, there you go, and it will show you the different kind of revisions that you've made today at 627, 626. Well, there's only been one edit apparently, but I just prefer to keep different documents, as you can see here. So what we're going to do is we'll come out of this, we'll copy all of this over to here, and we'll put that into this folder here, as you can see. What we're going to begin doing now is, first of all, we're going to pull out all of these parts of the statement, because we're going to finish with a version that's ultimately going to be, in some senses, ready to ship. Now, there's some things, of course, that are missing. You know, we need to put the structure together, the connected. We need to make sure how it reads. But this is, you know, the process that I recommend. And as much time as it takes you, but hopefully, you know, what I've demonstrated has shown you how you can build it all together, that you will end up by the end of this course and this video with a personal statement that's pretty close to the mark in terms of the things to include, the structure, as following the, you know, the kind of UCAS statement guide, and us beginning to put it all together within the 4,000 character limit now. So one thing is that we've got rid of all of the questions. Let's go to tools, let's go to word count, and look at that, 3,713 words. We've got up to 4,000 characters, which is great because it means we still have a couple of hundred words of kind of playing room for things to potentially add, which is fantastic. So what we can do now, of course, is first of all, we will just read it back, okay? So English has always been a passion as long as I can remember. So, you know, feel free to skip parts as I go through this. I want to show you the whole process kind of unedited and live and raw, so you can see my entire thought process and putting together a personal statement that's ultimately going to be, you know, good enough for you to get into Oxford or Cambridge. And let's go through some of the steps now that we need to do. So English literature has always been a passion for me as long as I can. So what I'm going to look for ultimately is reading through. I'm going to correct as I go. I'm going to read out loud. You're going to hear my thought process, and you can, you know, hopefully use that as a template to, you know, in terms of how you go on and develop your own personal statement. So let's go. And the rules apply whatever the subject may be. So English literature has always been a passion for me as long as I can remember. Having grown up reading lots of fancy fiction, Russian and Tolkien, outside the prospect of learning more reading more of classic authors such as, English literature has always been a passion for me as long as I can remember. Having grown up reading lots of fantasy fiction, Russian Tolkien, I'm starting to prospect of learning more of classic authors such as Virgil, Homer, Chaucer. So, this has always been a passion for me as long as I can remember. Having grown up reading lots of fantasy fiction, Russian Tolkien, outside the prospect of learning more of classic authors such as Virgil, Homer, Chaucer and Dante, studying these. I'm getting rid of authors because I think I've seen authors again there. So it's repetition. So I'm getting rid of repetition. Studying these writers at a degree level will allow me to enhance my critical thinking. Studying these writers at a degree level when analysing various translations of the Iliad and simplification. Analyze. Screen. Adaptations of the text. Screen adaptations of the implications. Bodies of work, its implications for understanding. So studying writers at degree level and enhanced critical thinking when analysing very translations of Iliad screen touch with the benefits and implications. And its implications for our understanding of them. Furthermore, I wish to grasp a greater appreciation of the story of the 30 people. Alongside this, because furthermore is like an additional point, alongside this is like next to it, I wish to grasp a greater appreciation of the story of the 30 people travelling as pilgrims to Canterbury. Studying English literature will give me all of this and more. So as you can see, I'm beginning to adapt things, correct some of the English, slightly modify some elements, and also bulk out the actual word count. We will hit the 4,000, we'll probably go slightly over the 4,000. We're beginning to develop a kind of rough structure now as to how it can be put together. So we'll put this together. Having been asked to sit, I'm going to sit my GCSEs at 14 rather than 16 years of age. I've always displayed a natural, but I am fortunate to have displayed. That's less arrogant or less bravado. Remember what we talked about with the British and our approach with writing. I'm fortunate to have displayed a particular. Okay, having been asked to sit my English GCSEs at 14 rather than 16 years of age, I'm fortunate to have displayed a actual aptitude for English literature, especially given I was tasked to read Great Expectations, Shakespearean, Great Expectations. No, we don't need to add them together because Great Expectations is an individual book. Shakespearean texts are a body of work, the word that we used before, so they don't really fit together. It's like one singular work with a volume of work. So we put tasked to read Great Expectations and tasked to read novels such as Great Expectations and Jane Eyre. That's the other one that I read. As an 11-year-old, because I love advanced reading age. Yeah, having been asked to sit my English GCSEs at 14 rather than 16 years of age, I'm fortunate to display a natural aptitude for English literature, especially given I was tasked to read novels such as Great Expectations and Jane Eyre as an 11-year-old. Okay, perfect. Okay, sorry, so where were we? So I'm fortunate to have displayed a natural aptitude for English literature, especially given I was tasked to read novels such as Great Expectations and Jane Eyre as an 11-year-old. Furthermore, okay, we've got furthermore, so I got rid of it before, so I got rid of the repetition. Furthermore, the adventures at central figures, okay, furthermore, the adventures at the central figures in Lord of the Rings and Great Expectations underwent the adventures that Frodo and Pippin underwent in Lord of the Rings and Great Expectations have always fascinated me since first reading of them, and I relish the prospect of gaining further insights into this at university. Into this through discussions at university. I see the world through words rather than pictures, and studying English literature will give me the necessary skills to elevate my sight. Tools to elevate my sight even further. Okay, so that's an example of a first paragraph. So let's read that together now. English literature has always been a passion for me as long as I can remember. Having grown up reading lots of fantasy fiction from Rushdie to Tolkien, I'm excited at the prospect of learning more of classic authors such as Virgil, Homer, Chaucer, and Dante. Studying these writers at a degree level will enhance my critical thinking when analysing the various translations of the Iliad, screen adaptations of those body of works, and its implications for our understanding of them. Alongside this, I wish to grasp a great appreciation of the story of the 30 people travelling as pilgrims to Canterbury. Studying English literature at university will give me all of this and more. Having been asked to... What's there? So get rid of the underline. Having been asked to sit my English GCSE at 14 rather than 16 years of age, I'm fortunate to have displayed a natural aptitude for English literature, especially given I was tasked to read novels such as Great Expectations and Jane Eyre as an 11-year-old. Furthermore... Now, did we already see a furthermore? Well, there's a couple of furthermores, as we can see. There's two. Two's not too bad. Furthermore, the adventures that Frodo and Pippin undergo in Lord of the Rings and Great Expectations fascinated. Do I use that again? So that's a quick tip that I do there. I quickly do a check, a control find check to see if I can see it. Have always intrigued, but I prefer intrigued. So furthermore, the adventures that Frodo and Pippin undergo in Lord of the Rings and Great Expectations have always intrigued me since first reading of them, and I relish the prospect of gaining further insights into this through discussions with my tutors. I see the world through words rather than pictures, and studying English literature will give me the necessary tools to elevate my sight even further. Okay, so I'm relatively happy with that first paragraph. There's probably little things I'm going to pick up, in over time, but as a first solid paragraph, there seems to be, a level of relevance I'm happy with, and I hope that you see how this has gone from. And let's open up the other version quickly. But we've got version 2 here, as you can see. We've got version 1, and if I go to recent. There we go, perfect. So we'll have a look at this. We've got versions 1, which was just a set of ideas that you saw that we took from the UCAS guide they showed us, the questions, and I began filling this out as you saw. Have I got another document open? There it is. There's the culprit. Okay, cool. So so this is version 1 with just the ideas in bullet point format. Then we turn those ideas into actual text following the structure as reference, as you can see. That's version 2. And then in version 3, we're now beginning to build out an actual solid personal statement. So we've got the first paragraph done. Let's go ahead and look at the second stage of that actual personal statement so we can get a sense of what are the next steps required. So the next thing is having studied history, psychology, and philosophy alongside literature. Moreover, in conjunction, we're looking for connectors, in conjunction with this, having studied history, philosophy, and psychology alongside literature for my A-levels, I have found there to be a huge crossover. In the critical and essay writing skills required for. I found a huge crossover in the critical essay. Required for these courses. In conjunction with this, having studied history, psychology, and philosophy alongside literature for my A-levels, I found there to be a huge crossover in the critical and analytical. Let's put analytical. That sounds better. It sounds more like something you'd read from a report from a marking criteria. That's it. I found there to be a huge crossover in the critical and analytical writing skills required for these courses. This will prove to be pivotal in a literary degree course. Furthermore, I feel that I have keen insights into the language and literary devices, being a British Indian from a migrant family that is a dual speaker of English and Hindi, English and Hindi, and has had a diet of religious scripture of Hindu and of both Hindu and Christian religious scripture, and our own of both of Hindu and diet of Hindu religious scripture, and so my native country's own great poetry growing up. Okay, cool. So that's another reason for why that. Let's see, particular. To be very specific. So we're going back to talking about the courses here, so I'm probably going to change the structure around a little bit. To be very specific, I feel that my exploration of Great War literature as part of my history course alongside critical thinkers of Greek ages, alongside the... because we don't need the Greek ages, Plato and Aristotle in philosophy, alongside my understanding of the issues of perceived authority and the Stanford Prison Experiment in psychology will add layers and depth to my interpretation of classic literature. So if we cut that out there and go back to where it is in the actual section here that relates to the courses, then we'll put that back there. And now let's have a look. I know it's got a little bit lost in there, so let me just split some of this up for you so you can see. We start talking about here. There. So in conjunction with this, having studied history, psychology, and philosophy alongside literature format A levels, I found there to be a huge crossover in the critical and analytical writing skills required for these courses. This will prove to be pivotal in a literary degree course. To be very specific, I feel that my exploration of Great War literature as part of my history course alongside the critical thinkers Plato and Aristotle in philosophy, alongside my understanding, next to, let me just adjust. Next to, no, let's put in line with, yeah, let's do that. So this proves to be pivotal on a literary degree course. To be very specific, I feel that my exploration of Great War literature as part of my history course alongside critical thinkers Plato and Aristotle in philosophy, in line with my understanding, alongside. So let's put in conjunction, in support of. Let's try that. I'm not convinced on all of these yet, but we're going to just muddle something through for the moment. This will prove to be pivotal on a literary degree course. To be very specific, I feel that my exploration of Great War literature as part of my history course, alongside the critical thinkers Plato and Aristotle in philosophy, in support of my understanding of the issues. That's too long. So to be very specific, I feel that my exploration of Great War literature as part of my history course, alongside critical thinkers Aristotle, will add layers and depth to my interpretation of classic literature. We'll add layers. Furthermore, we could use the moreover now. So moreover, learning of perceived authority, perceived authority, the Stanford Prison Experiment, and social behavior in psychology will give me added depth when considering character studies. Furthermore, I feel that I will have keen insights into the language and literary devices. Being a British Indian from a migrant family, this is a dual speaker of English and Hindi, and has a diet of Hindu religious scripture and some of his own great poetry growing up. Okay, cool. So I think that's kind of thereabouts. Let's read that all together. In conjunction with this, having studied history, psychology and philosophy alongside literature for my A-levels, I found there to be a huge crossover in the critical and analytical writing skills required for these courses. This will prove to be pivotal on a literary degree course. To be very specific, I feel that my exploration of Great War literature as part of my history course alongside the critical thinkers Plato and Aristotle and philosophy will add layers and depth to my interpretation of classic literature. Moreover, learning of perceived authority, the Stanford Prison Experiment and social behavior in psychology will give me added depth when considering character studies. Do you see that I tend to use powers of three here? Great War literature as part of my perceived. So learners of perceived authority, the Stanford Prison Experiment. And the social behaviour. Powers of three are really effective in terms of people's learning and understanding. Furthermore, I feel that our keen insights into the language and literary devices used in the texts we study, given I am a British Indian from a migrant family that's a dual speaker of English and Hindi, and has had a diet of Hindu religious scripture, and so my native scripture, such as the Mahabharata growing up. Okay, cool. So I'm relatively happy with that. Let's have a quick check of the word count. So at 3,867. So as you can see, we've got 2 more paragraphs to go ultimately, but we're getting to a stage where we're reaching the word count. We've still got another 123 characters, something like that, 33. So we've still got some wiggle room, if you like. So with ambitions to ultimately become a journalist in a political arena, as well as an author in my own journalist in political arena, and then an author in my own right, the knowledge and experience studying at university will be second. So with ambitions to ultimately become a journalist in the political arena and then an author in my own right, the knowledge and experience studying at your own, the knowledge and experience studying at your university will give the knowledge and experience that studying at your university will give me. Yeah, okay, I see that. Will be second to none. So let's read that all out together. With ambitions to ultimately become a journalist in the political arena and then an author in my own right, the knowledge and experience of studying at university will give me will be second to none. The focus on interpretation of literature as corresponding to the facts we find in the poetry and prose in many respects matches the jargon. Jargon is seen as sometimes a negative word. In many respects, matches the polemic literature, polemic party statements we find in politics. I wish to write about this all. So, with apologies for keeping on yawning, guys. I'm actually not tired. With ambitions to ultimately become a journalist in a political arena and then an author in my own right, the knowledge and experience of studying at university will give me will be second to none. The focus on interpretation of literature as corresponding to the facts we find in the poetry, the focus on interpretation of literature as corresponding to the facts we find in poetry and prose in many respects matches the polemic party statements we find in politics. I wish to write about this in understanding what is really being said. I wish to write about this all. Outside of my direct outside. So cool. So I'm relatively happy with this paragraph. We've got 3 paragraphs that we're quite happy with now, or at least I am, and we'll go through and finish the final paragraph. So outside of my direct academic experience, I've also been a rapper that is part of a successful recording group with a music video that we've submitted to television. The writing of rap lyrics alongside the group and solo recording of over 15 songs, the writing of rap lyrics alongside the group, the writing of rap lyrics in okay, perfect. The writing of rap lyrics in group and solo recordings. No, writing of rap lyrics in the writer for group and solo projects of spanning more than... Okay, the writing of rap lyrics for group and solo projects spanning more than 15 songs have taught me much about rhythm, rhyme, and melody, all of which will prove very useful at university. So where we put university, let's find and replace with replace all. That's that done. That's gone to lowercase now. So perfect. So writing of rap lyrics for group and solo projects spanning more than 15 songs have taught me much about rhythm, rhyme, and melody, all of which will prove very useful at university. We recorded the music. We actually recorded the music video. We recorded the music video with recording group. So we'll get rid of the video and we'll put that later. We'll match video with video rather than separating the two. So outside of my direct academic experience, I've also been a rapper that is part of a successful recording group. The writing of rap lyrics for group and solo projects spanning more than 15 songs have taught me much about rhythm, rhyme, and melody, all of which will prove very useful at university. We went on to record a music video with a production team that had worked on the set of Harry Potter and storyboard and developing the... went on to record to storyboard went on to storyboard and produce a fully fledged music video for television for a production team. The production team that worked on the set of Harry Potter. All of which will be beneficial for any creative writing that I do. Alongside having the captain of school football team, I was playing for a local team 2 years above my age group. Has made me hardworking. Alongside this, having been the captain of school football team of my school football team, as well as playing my school football team, as well as playing for a local team 2 years above my age group, has made me hardworking and resilient. All of these skills are pretty critical during my academic studies, and having managed, especially having managed all of this whilst working since the age of 14 as a paperboy, dishwasher, mechanic system, and more. And so I am definitely prepared for the work and time management needed to finish with a first class, needed to ultimately graduate with a first class honours. Okay, I think, folks, that we might actually be there. Word count 3909. Absolutely amazing. Okay, so let's now read this entire thing through together. So because I believe that we've got to a final version 3, that we ultimately want to aim to get to version 5. Okay, version 5 is going to be the finished version. Version 3 will take us to the point where we can then get external advice. So that's what I recommend. So let's have a look now. English literature has always been a passion for me for as long as I can remember. Having grown up reading lots of fantasy fiction from Rushdie to Tolkien, I'm excited at the prospect of learning more. By the way, the value of reading it out loud is absolutely immense. Do read what you write out loud, because it gives it a life of its own, and you're able to understand, interpret, and comprehend the text in new ways, and you can really feel how it will sound to a first-time reader. We're going for a combination of data that relates to your personal life, which I've added in the final element, but also very much academic driven. So it's 80%, the academia, and then 20% your actual personal life. So with that in mind, let's read. English literature has always been a passion for me as long as I can remember. Having grown up reading lots of fantasy fiction from Rushdie to Tolkien, I'm excited at the prospect of learning more of classic authors such as Virgil, Homer, Chaucer, and Dante. So what we'll do here is, should I stick to the same authors or keep with these 4 new editions. So the authors are the same as these two. The 4 new editions are there, and it's an open question, right? Studying these writers at a degree level will enhance my critical thinking when analysing the various translations of the Iliad, screen adaptations of these bodies of works, bodies of work, and its implications for our understanding of them. Screen adaptations for these bodies of work, and so what we can put in here, not sure about this sentence. What do you think? Right. So, alongside this, I wish to grasp the greater application of the story of the 30 people travelling as pilgrims to Canterbury in Chaucer's The Canterbury Tales, and I believe it's called that. Let's quickly check that. It's just called the Canterbury Tales. Okay, fine. Okay, cool. So, studying English literature at university will give me all of this and more. Having been asked to sit my English GCSEs at 14 rather than my English GCSE, no, there's 2 of them, language and literature. Having been asked to sit my, what am I saying? There's 1. Having been asked to sit my English GCSE at 14 rather than 16 years of age, I am fortunate to have displayed a natural aptitude for the subject. So we're still making changes, as you can see, especially given I was tasked to read novels such as Great Expectations and Jane Eyre as an 11-year-old. Furthermore, the adventures of Frodo and Pippin undergoing Lord of the Rings and Great Expectations have always intrigued me since first reading them, and I relish the prospect of gaining further insights into this through discussions with my tutors. So, should I stick to fewer examples? Because, I've used a wide range of examples here: Chaucer, Virgil, Homer, Dante, Rushdie, Tolkien, Dickens, Jane Eyre. It's all in the first paragraph, and there is an open question, say that whether we could hone down and focus on 3 specific authors rather than the several that we mentioned. I see the world through words rather than pictures, and studying English literature will give me the necessary tools to elevate my sight even further. In conjunction with this, having studied history, psychology, and philosophy alongside literature for my A-levels, I found there to be a huge crossover in the critical and analytical writing skills required for these courses. This will prove to be pivotal on my intended path of study, because I've used the words courses already, on my intended path of study. To be very specific, I feel that my exploration of Great War literature as part of my history course alongside the critical thinkers Plato and Aristotle and philosophy will add layers in depth to my interpretation of classic literature. Moreover, learning of perceived authority, the Stanford Prison Experiment, and social behavior and psychology will give me added depth when considering character studies. Considering the character studies I will undertake on a literature course. So that maybe is a capitalization there potentially, on a literature course. Furthermore, I feel that I have keen insights into the language and literary devices. So we've used literature and literary. Undertake on a, let's put maybe, where did we last use degree? So there's lots of little layers. Okay, we've not used degree for a little while. On a degree course. So we kill that off. Furthermore, I feel that I will have keen insights into the language and literary devices used in the text we study, given I'm British Indian, especially text we study, given I'm British Indian from a migrant family and it's. Furthermore, I feel that I will have keen insights into the language and literary devices used in the text we study, given I'm a British Indian from a migrant family that is the dual speaker of English and Hindi, and has had a diet of Hindu religious scripture such as the Mahabharata growing up. Okay, good. So that's first paragraph put together. With ambitions to ultimately become a journalist in the political arena. No, we can maybe keep that separate. It's a later decision, so we'll maybe add there. Should I add this paragraph to paragraph number 1. So, these are the thoughts that you can share with people. With ambitions to ultimately become a journalist in a political arena and then an author in my own right, the knowledge and experience of studying at your university will give me will be second to none. The focus on interpretation of literature as corresponding to the facts we find in poetry and prose in many respects matches the polemic party statements we find in politics, and understanding what is really being said. I wish to write about this. I wish to use my I used to use my literary education with all of this in mind. And then another thing is, do you think it's okay to use politics in my statement? So that's another open question again, as you can see there, and the reason that I'm putting all these questions in is because this to my mind is a very good personal statement. It is on the basis, of course, of what I've written. I've written it from scratch, but there's always open questions that people will have different opinions on, and I always encourage and implore you, as per the advice that you saw that I gave, as well as what UCAS give, is that share it with 2 or 3 people that you trust. So ultimately, what might happen is that they can check all of these questions that you have to answer to get a second reference point, as well as checking obviously your spelling, punctuation and grammar. So that's the rationale for why you can put your thoughts in here. Right. Outside of my direct academic experience, I've also been a rapper that is part of a successful recording group. The writing of rap lyrics for group and solo projects spanning more than 15 songs have taught me much about rhythm, rhyme and melody, all of which will prove very useful at university. We actually went on to storyboard and produce a fully fledged music video for television with a production team that had worked on the set of Harry Potter, all of which will be beneficial for any creative writing that I do. Perfect. Alongside this, having been the captain of my school football team, as well as playing for a local team 2 years above my age group, has made me hard-working and resilient. All of these skills will prove critical during my academic studies, especially having managed all of this whilst working since the age of 14 as a paperboy, dishwasher, mechanics assistant, dishwasher, and then a mechanics assistant. Feels more end stopped as a paperboy, dishwasher, and then as paperboy, dishwasher, and then a mechanics dishwasher and a mechanic. No, and then add the sense of time, a passage of time, and it's one after the other. Paperboy, dishwasher, and then a mechanics assistant. And so I'm definitely prepared for the work and time management needed to ultimately graduate with a first class honours. It highlights my ambition and aim with the course. Thank you for taking the time to read this application. Regards, Deepak Shukla. Should I spend less time in this paragraph talking about my outside? Okay, let's scroll up. Achievements. Or is it okay? Okay, cool. So, guys, welcome to the finished draft version 3 of a personal statement. We've got to a word count of 4,005, so it needs 5 less characters, which is absolutely fine. And this ultimately is going to be what will take you through to an actual finished and completed application. The only final thing to consider is twofold. We're going to be talking about a referee and how to manage that in a final brief video. But this is the personal statement that we've worked together to build. And from this version 3, you want to get to version 5 by asking 3 people that you know to give you detailed feedback on your answers. Go around, make another set of changes, reach out to them again, and then using their final set of comments, make your final sweep of changes, and then you'd submit the application. And this part is the most critical element of the entire UCAS application. You get this part right, assuming you have excellent grades, you do have definitely a chance of getting to interview. So that is how to write the personal statement, and the final video will cover the references, or the reference rather.